It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Hey, I brought back Lee Mayfield. Lee Mayfield's the president of Present Tech and the founder of Flipdeck. They are a supporter of the end of the day with Ray. And Lee, I'm super excited to have you back on. I know we've been working on some things over the last couple of months, but how's it going, man?
It's going great, Ray. Really glad to be with you again.
Well, you know, I saw yesterday on social media that you won some kind of an award or you got some kind of certification with vendor neutrality. So tell us a little bit about that real quick.
Yeah, thanks for asking. We're really excited about it. It was a big step for us. So vendor neutral took us through an analyst process, and it's what's called a certification for our Flipdeck application. So we were certified in sales enablement content management, which is a very popular category with lots of tools in it, and we were previously in mobile selling. So we're glad to be where we feel like we belong, which is a great sales enablement option for folks.
Well, that's awesome. So, you know, last time I had Lee on, we were talking about Flipdeck and how you can move content, you know, quickly and easily to the person you need to get it to. And so I asked, you know, Lee, you know, with all these people on Zoom meetings or, you know, whatever your flavor is, but we're doing a lot of digital communications. How could the sales reps use Flipdeck to try to move this information to those end users while they're on the phone with them live? So can you share a little bit of that? Because I know you've been working with that. You've been working with some of the dealers in the channel on it. So how's it going with that?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's going well. I would say, you know, the challenge for all of us is just what 2020 has brought. And that's having to do pretty much everything virtually. And so I'm presenting differently. I'm approaching, you know, customers and conversations differently. And I'm able to use Flipdeck myself and, you know, just some ideas for folks. It's a really easy way to have content, at your fingertips. And so, you know, to me, it's like it changes the pre and post. So I'm able to take information, links to content, put it on what we call a Flipdeck card, and I can send it out for the meeting. I can provide links to an end of the day with Ray interview that I did, and I can give my personal, you know, cell phone number if I want to do that, and then certainly on the follow-up. So usually in a meeting, there's a lot of different things discussed, and it may not be what you thought it was going to be, and sometimes that's a good thing. And so what I do is I use it almost like a jukebox or a playlist, and so I'll have it available to me, and somebody will say, hey, you know, what would a timeline look like for that, or who are some of your, you know, reference customers, or let's talk about pricing. And maybe it was the first meeting, and I didn't really think it was going to go there, but I'm able to, you know, bring exhibits up on the fly really quickly for at least a lot of things. And then certainly after the call's over, usually, you know, within a couple of minutes, you know, I've got an email in their inbox saying, hey, it was great to talk to you, and, you know, here's some direct links to things we talked about. I'll follow up on the other stuff, and, you know, really, you know, just trying to, you know, elevate the responsiveness from day one, even though we're virtual.
Well, you know, Lee, a lot of people are going to say, okay, I'm on Zoom, I got content, it's out in some shared file or something. Can I kind of do the same thing? So just kind of remind us a little bit of how much easier it is, I guess, to use the Flipdeck product. What's the benefit?
Yeah, so really what we are doing with Flipdeck is we're providing a wrapper, and it's a visual wrapper. So we use this idea of cards and decks, and everybody just innately understands that. So a deck is usually just a collection of cards, and a card is a link to content wherever it lives. And there's an image, there's a description, and so, you know, that visual interface makes it really easy to spot things. You know, your brain connects what a card looks like to what the content's about. You can find it really quickly, and we don't care where the content lives, and you don't have to move it. So, you know, you can have a timeline for, let's say, you know, you talk a lot about IT services. You have an IT services cutover timeline in Dropbox. You can have a link to your web page. You can have a, you know, price sheet for partners level 4 in OneDrive, and those things can all be sort of brought together in your Flipdeck account, and you know, those cards provide really the you know, the index, almost a visual table of contents to the content that you want to share out.
Well, here's a question for you. I'm just going to throw this out there because you maybe just think of something. Every time I talk to you, I start thinking about something. But, you know, a lot of our dealers have help desks. Okay? So we're thinking about the salespeople, and they're doing their virtual sales call. But hypothetically, if I was on a help desk, as a tech on a help desk, and a customer called me up, and that particular customer, this is like the third time they've called me in 3 days, and it's the same problem. Unless I'm just going to throw something out there. Maybe it's a password reset or something. Could I use Flipdeck to have information about a particular account, because I could put that in the configurations of my software that I'm using for my IT desk? I think there might be a way to move information from a help desk to the endpoint end user through Flipdeck. I want to explore that. If anybody out there has a help desk, I want to get with you, because I want to hook you up with Lee. I think there's something here. Because when I was delivering IT services with Milton, we were using ConnectWise as the platform, but there wasn't really a way to give content the way that you deliver it. And it seems to me that would be pretty awesome if we could do that.
Well, what you hit on with your help desk example, and we see this with inside sales, even services to a degree, folks are coming back to really a similar set of content over and over again. And so one of the problems that big systems present is, they can store absolutely everything, but now everything's, a little piece of driftwood in a big ocean. Mm-hmm. And so what we're doing with Flipdeck is we're saying, hey, there's got to be a short list. Put the things you come back to over and over again on your short list. And short is going to be relative. It could be 10 pieces of content for somebody. It could be 200. Mm-hmm. We have accounts with 200 cards in them. But 200 is a lot, easier to deal with than, 20,000. Mm-hmm. And so in your example, yeah, absolutely. It's, those moves that you come back to over and over again. Okay, here's the password reset in this particular scenario. Here's how you go in and onboard, a new team member, because people are going to forget that stuff. And, it's not that the content doesn't exist. There's probably a tech note somewhere, mm-hmm. but if it takes you 2 seconds to find it and deliver it out in Flipdeck because you get this nice visual front end, mm-hmm. That's a payback versus the 20 minutes it might take you to search the repo for that. So, the repo can still be there. It's your everything place. But by putting your short list content just at your fingertips, you just save a ton of time.
That's interesting. I want to pursue that a little bit more with you, because I know that could be kind of interesting, I think, especially in our space. So, Lee, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to the demo that you have for Flipdeck to remind people of, what those cards look like. We don't need to do that here on the end of the day with Ray, but I think it's exciting that we're getting momentum. The whole digital landscape of communicating with end users in this digital space is phenomenal. You're doing really well at that, and I know, I know you've worked a little bit with Rick and his team, and we're going to do some stuff on the end of the day with Ray kicking something off through Flipdeck. But is there anything you could share with the audience right now that kind of was like, since maybe COVID started, that has really changed one of your customers' lives?
I think the example that just popped into my head when you asked that question is probably centered around speed. And so I think especially now, and it is a bit of a broadening of my answer to your question, but you're talking a lot about IT services in the last week or so on the end of the day with Ray. And that's an example of sort of a new area, a new line of business, and it's time consuming and difficult to get everybody on the same page. To get salespeople understanding what that go to market messaging is, what that funnel looks like, what content are you going to need in your first meeting, how do you overcome objections. There's this whole area of buyer personas. What does the COO want? Where does the ROI analysis come into the mix? And so by structuring that in, Flipdeck in a series of decks, not only do you just, it's more than a folder. You're not just saying, here's, case studies, for example. You can have a folder called, COO. Mm-hmm. And that can be all those things where you're really focusing the content on that recipient. And you can have decks around sales process, late stage objection handling, selling to teams. So it's a way to pack knowledge into the process as well, not just dumping content out there. And so I guess that's a long answer. And the short answer is, the impact that it's made is speed. people are not pushing content into a black hole and not wondering, is anybody using it? Are we making anybody's lives better? It's speed to getting it in front of customers and the accountability to know that that's being done.
Well, you think about it, you have your marketing's your own people too. So a lot of times we think of marketing collateral is just us sending stuff to our end user customer, but it's also executive offices sending stuff to their management team. That management sending stuff to their people that are underneath them. So it's just a great way for all information in an organization to kind of be, passed around all the way back to the end user. So pretty interesting stuff. I got to be honest with you, Lee. It's really cool. I love your product. Is there anything you want to say before we end this?
Really just the last little bit is, I love being on with you, and I like how you think and the questions that, you're asking. They're great questions, and I guess, the humbling part of it is, as you are looking at, challenges that, really lots of different industries, but, you speak a lot to the imaging channel, there's transformation underway. And so it means that, folks have to approach things differently. And so, that doesn't always mean that you just have to, completely upend everything and, throw everything away. Sometimes there's a missing piece. Yep. And you can add a missing piece and get a real boost in productivity. There are times when, you gotta, like sell the mills and, go in another direction. But, we're happy to be offering some digital transformation tech that doesn't have to displace a whole bunch of things. We like to say we're displacing the status quo in one little area. Yep. Because you're not hunting through your Outlook sent folder. You know exactly where that content is, and you look good. You look good in front of your customers, and it's just a nice little arrow in your quiver there when you're getting out and you're prospecting. It's not a bad thing to look good, in that first meeting and in that follow-up.
No, but have the flexibility to make those cards and change those cards and all that other stuff. Because, Lee, we all know this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo. We'll see you all tomorrow.